Hi everyone! Osashiburi desu! Hi from Australia. I miss you guys so much. I think about you every day. I hope you've been studying English. I've been studying Japanese every day, so you better be. Jose messaged me this morning and said that everyone is learning about COVID-19 at the moment. And he asked me to send you all a video about my COVID experiences. And I got really excited because I get to talk to you again. But yeah, so when I was in Japan still, after all of you weren't able to come to school anymore, you had to go home. So it was just me and the other ALTs and the teachers in the office. We were quite bored actually. I realized that this virus was going to be a problem towards the middle of March, and at this point my original plan in Japan, my first plan, was to stay in Japan until the end of April, and that would give me 1 month to do some tourist things that I didn't really get to do because most of my time in Japan I spent teaching, which I was okay with. I really liked it. I really enjoyed teaching you guys. I think it's much better than traveling as a tourist, but I thought I would take a month to be a tourist and enjoy the sights. But yeah, in the middle of March, I realized maybe this wouldn't be possible. So I bought my airplane ticket to go back home to Australia for the 1st of April. And I think it was like the 17th or the 18th of March. I can't quite remember. And I messaged my dad and I was like, I bought my ticket home. And my dad said to me, when is your ticket for? What day is your ticket for? And I said, well, the ticket's for the 1st of April. And my dad said, are you sure that's going to be soon enough? Don't you want to go home before that? And I was like, no, it's only 2 weeks away, Dad, don't be silly. But my dad was right. Always listen to your parents. Your parents are very smart, much smarter than you think that they are. I learned that. And then I checked the news the next day, the Australian news, and the Australian news had an article from the government, and we call this part of the government the Department of Foreign Affairs, and they look after anything to do with international travel, international governments, any kind of foreigners in Australia. They are looked after by this government, the Department of Foreign Affairs. And the article that the Department of Foreign Affairs had posted in the news was saying that anyone who is an international traveler, they need to go home straight away because there would be a problem and it would be very difficult to get home. It would be very difficult to get home after this date. So I got quite scared because it meant it would be very difficult for me to get home. I was like, oh no, this is going to be really hard. And I called the embassy the next day and I asked them, I was like, when do I need to be home by? I've got a plane ticket for in 2 weeks. So, is that going to be a problem? And the embassy lady said to me that if I did not get on a plane to go home to Australia by the end of that week, I wouldn't be able to get home. And my government wouldn't send a plane to come and rescue me from Japan. So I would have to live in Japan for a very long time. And after my time in teaching ended, that would mean that I wouldn't have a home and I wouldn't have a job, and life would get very difficult for me. So it was very scary. Actually, I was very scared. Jose and Rose and Matt were very good to me because I spent that whole week really quite panicking and looking very scared. And I bought my plane ticket, so I changed my plane ticket to the Friday of that week. So that was Friday in the middle of March. And packed up all my bags, cleaned my house. I let my company know that I had to leave the country, and got on the plane. And the plane was full of other Australians because it was an Australian airway, and I was really scared that I was going to catch the virus on the plane, because you are the most likely to catch a virus while you're on the plane. That's where most people have caught corona, on airplanes. So yeah, I was quite scared. I had my mask on, and other Australians were wearing masks, which is quite funny because Australians almost never wear masks. It's actually very weird in Australia to wear the mask. So seeing other Australians wear a mask, it's a little bit scary, because if Australians are wearing masks, it means that they are quite scared. And what was more scary was the lady on the same row as me in the airplane kept coughing and sneezing and wiping down her seat with hand sanitizer. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna catch corona. But as you can see, I'm not dead. I'm okay. So that worked out. But yeah, I got home. My best friend, Marissa, who's also the person that I live with, she drove to the airport to pick me up, and we had to sit away from each other, social distancing, 1.5 meters, and the two of us had to go into what we call quarantine or isolation. Quarantine is when something might have a disease or a virus, so you keep it away from everything else. Isolation is, it comes from the word isolate, and to isolate means to get something and take it away from other things, to put something away from everything else. So when you go into isolation, it means you have to stay away from everyone else and you have to stay by yourself. So in Australia, it's compulsory when you come back from international travel at the moment, you have to spend 2 weeks in isolation, or 2 weeks in quarantine, same thing. So myself and my best friend, we weren't allowed to leave the house. I couldn't go for a walk. I couldn't go to the grocery shops. I had to stay home. At one point, we were really feeling very overwhelmed and scared, so we went for a drive just to get out of the house. And we drove just around Perth, which is the city that I live in, and came back. But after the social isolation period had ended for us, there was still social isolation in Australia. So the Australian government at the moment has shut down all of the restaurants, all of the bars, most shops as well. You can go grocery shopping, and there are some clothing shops that you can go to. Restaurants are allowed to do takeaway. So you can go and you can pick up your food and you can take it home, but you can't eat in the restaurant. And up until last week, you were only allowed to see one other person at a time, and only when you had to. And you were only supposed to leave your house for necessities, which means things you have to do. So we could leave the house to exercise, to go grocery shopping, or to pick up medicine from the pharmacy, but that was about it. And some people in other parts of Australia, have been arrested for going outside and not having a very good reason to go outside. But I've been okay. Western Australia is very good. At the moment, right now in Western Australia, we only have 40 people that have coronavirus at the moment. So they're starting to get more relaxed. Now we can see 10 people at a time, and maybe very soon restaurants and bars might be open again. So I'm very hopeful that things will go back to normal very soon. And I hope that the same happens for Japan. I hope that soon the schools can open and you can go back and you can see your teachers. So stay strong, please stay safe, keep studying at home. I'll be thinking of you. If you have any questions about Australia and coronavirus, please write them in the comments. I will be checking this YouTube, and I am very bored at the moment, so I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Also, I'm sorry, I'm speaking a lot faster than I used to, and my accent might be a little bit thicker because I've been spending time in Australia. So if you don't understand anything, also please ask questions if you want to. Yeah, that's all for now. Bye.